A month ago, I bought Reggie, a high mileage but good, solid XJR with a few minor cosmetic issues. Or so I thought, because Reggie turned out to be far worse than expected. Last week I used smoke bombs to finally find and fix a terrible water leak. I found and sorted out some fried electrics, rebuilt the torn and worn out front seat, and replaced the rear shocks. In this episode, I'm going to fix the big dent in the front wing, sort out the ABS, I'm going to tidy up the chassis underneath, we're going to replace the gearbox, expose all the rust, get it cut out, welded up and repainted. Finally, I'm even going to refurb the wheels. Let's start with me having an attempt at sorting out that dent. In a way, it doesn't look too bad because it's sort of quite concave with no sharp edges, but there is this little ridge below, which is where it's like properly sort of kinked. And I think that's going to be the hardest bit, but I want to get it as close as possible as I can to pre-bump. So let's see how I do. I was hoping to be able to literally pop it out with my hand, but it's definitely not moving. So I'm going to slip a bit of wood behind it. I'm going to slip a bit of wood behind it, and then I'm going to go in from this side. There's a rubber grommet cover I've taken off with a piece of wood and a little hammer and see if I can get it to pop out that way. And to finish off, a little panel beating wedge. Well, it isn't perfect, but it is so much better than it was before. It no longer sort of attracts the eye as much as it did, and I think with a very thin sort of skim of filler and paint, it's going to look perfect. So, not too bad. Next, meet my friend Anton, the professional moron whose workshop I'll be using to do the rust proofing. It's just surface rust, but it could definitely do with a bit of tidying up. I'm going to be using LanoGuard to protect Reggie's undercarriage. So I have used this product before. It's made from lanolin extracted from sheep's wool. It's super easy to apply. This is the lance that you use. It's got quite a long reach on it. And the reason for that is if you're going to do it on your driveway, you can have that on the floor next to you, lie on the ground with this going sideways. This is just for people who prefer to use the little handheld sprayer, but it's a nice thing that they've included it. There is this as well, which is to inject cavities, and it also comes with this, which is essentially concentrated LanoGuard, so it's more like a grease. And for areas that are particularly badly affected, this is what you can use. There is going to be a discount code in the video description. I've partnered with them on this video so that you can get £5 off. Needle gun. I have heard that these things are amazing at cleaning up the underside of the chassis, so I'm going to have a quick go with that first. Then we're going to apply the LanoGuard. In this situation where the car is up in the air, the sprayer bottle is easier to maneuver, so that's what I'll be using today. I've used about a third of the liquid, so you could easily do 3 cars with one of these kits, and you can see the results for yourself. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's now time to finally fix that ABS fault. It should be a simple case of replacing the lead to the sensor. Some of you may wonder why I am using a second-hand part to replace this when they're really not that expensive. Well, it's two reasons really. I'm in constant touch with the guys at Auto Reserve. They always help me. They had one there, so I thought I'd do it. Plus, this is a genuine Jaguar. The one that was on there before, which has actually been there less time than the one on the driver's side, you can see is aftermarket because the wire is thinner than the Jaguar, which is probably why it's broken. So this way I get to use a Jaguar. We'll see if it fixes it, and I'm sure it will be fine for the time being anyway. And now, the moment of truth. Well, definitely not a success so far. The ABS light is still on. I've tried to erase the codes with my code reader, but it's not a very good one. It doesn't even pick up the ABS code, so I'm not sure if you have to do that. I'm just going to try and take it for a very quick drive and see if that clears it. Ah, yes, it has. I was starting to get a bit concerned about that because I also tested the old one and saw that that was definitely broken. So, yeah, it has now cleared and it's looking good. Next thing I want to do is change the rear lights. They're both cracked, but while we're doing that, I'm also very curious to see just how bad that rust there is. This bit of rust here worries me more. What we've just exposed, yeah, okay, there's a little hole. That's pretty much what I was expecting. There's a single skin there. What you see behind is another panel, which is fine. Gonna get that fixed. This, though, doesn't look like much, and that's what worries me. So let's just get into it and see if it's fully holed or what the situation is. It really doesn't look too bad. We're going to take it for paint later on in the video. And this is the big one. It's a lovely British spring day and we're heading to Tom Lenthal to get that gearbox changed. And it's in neutral again. Let me just see if I can get it to go back into drive now. No. Okay, let's hope it will go back into drive once I switch it off and back on. Okay, it's back in drive. Let's just hope we get there. Right, so Reese, again, the honour of working on Reggie. Just very quickly run us through what you've got to do to do the job.
Well, basically, the hardest part of the job is getting the exhaust off. We've got to take the exhaust caps down from the manifolds. Hopefully they all come undone okay.
Reese starts off by removing the air intake so he can get access to the nut on top of the driver's side cap. So just one snapped stud on the first one. Let's see what happens with the second. The passenger side cap is a different story. It's much trickier because it has a heat shield on top of it with some torque screws, which is really difficult to get to and move out of the way. Once we do, again, at least one of the studs has broken. Disconnecting the flexies is next, and it proves relatively straightforward once Reese realises that they are actually imperial-sized bolts that are on there for some reason. And now ready to remove the central part of the exhaust. The first cat is out, and although there is only one snap stud, we can see another one with damaged threads, so that will have to be replaced as well. And this is the dreaded heat shield, which made removal of the other catalytic converter so much more difficult. Next, it's the connector to the ECU and then onto the bolts for the torque converter. Draining the gearbox, it looks like the colour isn't quite right, and Reese suspects that maybe at some point it had the wrong oil put in it. Having removed the oil lines, it's now time to get to the bell housing bolts. I lost count, but I think there's about 12 of them. 2 are left in place until it's time to lower the gearbox. The gear lever linkage is removed. Now the prop shaft bolts. And here is the new gearbox being supplied by Andy at Auto Reserve. Thank you so much, Andy. I don't know what I would have done without you. It's a low mileage gearbox. I think it's between 80 and 90,000, so it will work well for what we need. Reassembly is pretty much the reverse process, with the exception of getting out those dastardly damaged studs. These are all the damaged or broken parts that Reese changed over. Just leaving now, and we took it for a quick test drive earlier and everything seems to be okay. Then Reese checked and topped up the levels again, and I have to say, it might all be in my head, but it seems to be driving a little bit better to me. Just seems to be a little bit more responsive off the throttle and so on. So maybe I'm dreaming it, maybe I'm not. Massive thanks to Tom Lenthal. If you've got a Jag, whether it's modern or classic, do bring it to them. And of course, huge thanks to Reese as well, who, you know, just put up with me filming around him what he was doing. He was extremely thorough. Really impressed with the work that they have done. I'll put the link to their website in the video description. And like magic, I'm here at Casey Autocolours with Stuart.
Hi.
Right, Stuart, let me just very quickly show you what we need you guys to do. I think we've spoken about this before, you've seen the car, but there is a little front mud guard, there's a bit that needs cutting out and re-welding, replating. Over there on the rear guard,
yeah.
And then there's a proper hole there.
Oh, okay.
So that will need doing.
It doesn't look too bad, does it?
No, it should be okay.
So,
okay,
no,
great.
Fine. You just leave it with us.
So I'll entrust you with Reggie. Where's my... There you go.
Reggie.
There's the keys for Reggie.
The Jag. Great.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Right, no problem.
While the guys are busy painting, I'm taking the wheels to Smart Rims in Oxfordshire to get a bit of a makeover. As you can see, they're a bit worse for wear. And here it is. I'm so happy with the way this project is turning out. Well, I'm so happy apart from financial considerations, because it is costing me so much more money than I'd ever thought it would. But the end result, I think, and we're almost there now, the end result is looking great. Let's just talk a little bit about the wheels first. Adam and his team at Smart Rims have done an amazing job, as you can see. But there was a little bit of an unwelcome surprise. When they took the tyres off, they noticed that on the inside of the other tyres, they were only like 2 years old as well. They weren't that old. There was a big split going around. Not only would that be an MOT failure, but it was also unsafe. So I'm really grateful to them for picking that up. Not just that, they also sourced some new tyres for me. If you need to get your alloys done, these guys are based in Kidlington in Oxfordshire, and I really, really recommend them. I will put the link in the video description for anything to do with wheels and tyres, including straightening, all that kind of stuff. And now let's talk about the paintwork. So when I brought this to the guys, I thought that for that front wing, they were going to get it, they were just going to give it a very light skim of filler and repaint it. But in fact, the guy that they used to pull out the dents, sorry, I don't know your name, but you did a great job, because it looks, to me, it looks practically perfect. I'm so happy with that. It hasn't been repainted, nothing, and it just looks brilliant. So over the moon with that. They've done a great job with this. It was actually quite a big hole in the end, and they cut the whole bit out, welded a new panel in, resprayed. Looks great. Same with that rear wheel arch as well. Great job on that. And the one that I was maybe most worried about in terms of the end result was this. But I think you could see from the montage, the way they dealt with that as well. Super, super happy with it all. Not just that, but on the other side, the top of this door had gone a little bit manky here towards the end. They also sorted that out, and then I used a replacement second-hand strip. Mine had all sort of split and bubbled. I used a replacement strip from Andy at Auto Reserve and got that bit of the car sorted. So now, cosmetically, the exterior, bodywork, everything is sorted. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend these guys. If you're Oxfordshire based, do look them up. Links, as always, in the video description. But you'll be pleased to hear that Reggie's story doesn't quite end yet, because there is one big outstanding item, and that is the roof lining, which has to be done. But also, he needs a good service, like a major service with belts, plugs, oil, all that kind of stuff. And I want to take him to a dyno and see just how much power there is going to be left in this old dog after 24 years. All this is going to be in the next episode, as well as the final tally on how much it has cost me to fully fix up my £4,200 Jag XJR. I can tell you now, it's not going to be pretty.